This is Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, a podcast and radio program presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan.
Driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
And now, here he is, your host, Jim Ervin.
Baby, I'm home.
Well, thank you very much, Parker, and welcome to Time Signatures. I'm your host, Jim Ervin. Now, as you all know, I have a standing offer to anyone appearing on this program that if they have a new album, a tour, or news of any kind, they're welcome to reach out and come back on for a chat about that news of the day. Well, Jennifer Lyn reached out to me recently to discuss her new album for Jennifer Lyn and the Groove Revival. It's called Retrograde. And having given this new work a listen a few times over, I am excited to talk to her about it. So let's get it going, shall we? Jennifer Lyn, welcome back to Time Signatures. You've been a busy girl, haven't you?
I have, and thanks again so much for having me. Yeah, we've been busy. It's been good.
Well, I'm kind of excited because when you and I talked last time, I think you kind of teased that you were working on some new stuff, but you didn't really get into it. So let's dig in and talk about this new album, Jennifer. Retrograde. It's an interesting name for the album.
Yeah.
Talk about that process of writing this one, would you please?
Yeah, and the title kind of coincides with the music because no matter how hard we try, the music we write always sounds kind of like 60s and 70s throwback. It's just how it ends up working out. We're a guitar-driven band. And as a result of that, it just kind of gives off that vibe. So we played with it with Retrograde, which has many meanings, but talking in terms of our music, it's basically moving backwards when everything else is going forward. So that's kind of what we played with that. It kind of works. But no, we're very excited about it. This is definitely what we consider to be our best work. We really challenged ourselves. Not only musically in terms of the composition, but also lyrically, making sure that every song had a story. I'm really big on that, and luckily so is my writing partner, Richard, who's also in the band. So yeah, we're very excited to get this music out, and it officially drops on Friday, April 25th. So
that's this Friday. This Friday.
Yeah, we're very excited. It's going to be great, and our fans have been super supportive, purchasing during our pre-order, and we're just really excited to get the music out to everybody.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm telling you right now, it's a good album. Now, here's what I read on your site about Retrograde. Inspired by the raw energy of the 70s rock and blues, this studio album of 10 original songs blends dual guitar harmonies, fiery solos, and powerhouse vocals, channeling the spirit of the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, and Humble Pie. Retrograde delivers a bold mix of soulful ballads, foot-stomping anthems, and electrifying blues riffs, making it a must-have for the blues rock fan. That pretty well describes what your fans should expect, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're a little biased, of course. You know, it's like talking about if you have kids, it's like explaining your kids to other people. But yeah, that's how we feel. We took the music that inspired us, which is heavy in Rolling Stones, and definitely there's a little bit of Zeppelin-ish. Not that anybody could recreate that sound, but there's kind of a theme there with some of the lyrical content we specifically have in some songs. And then, me and my co-writer love that Humble Pie sound with the two guitars, and they were just so bluesy, and so yeah, we tried to incorporate that where it was fitting on this album. Yeah.
Now, Jennifer, how long did this album take to create from start to finish? We're talking about writing, reworks, etc.
Well, for us, it takes a while. I still have a full-time job, and I'm a college professor, so for me, it's a little bit challenging. Tends to be a lot of long nights in the studio with, especially when we get to the point where we're mixing and mastering, because I tackle those tasks. But I would say Richard and I got really in a groove with the writing. We probably cracked that out in a matter of about 3 weeks. And
wow.
Yeah, it just really, it was kind of worked out really well for the 10 songs. We kind of
Yeah,
had
no
some in the
kidding.
hopper. Yeah, we had some in the hopper in
Okay.
terms of ideas, concepts, lyrics, things we knew we wanted to say. And then, yeah, we just got in a groove and he and I kind of cracked out everything in terms of composition, had an idea what the arrangements were going to be, had all the lyrics down. And so the next process for people who want to be nerdy with me here, we create essentially scratch tracks, which is just guitar and vocals. We send that to our bandmates, which we have drums, Jim Anderson on drums, Nolan Falcon on bass, and Barb Jisker on keys. And we send it to our bandmates. They give a listen, and then they get to come up with what they feel musically is going to add to what we already have with the guitars. And yeah, so once we get that going, after we send them the scratch tracks, that's when we get everybody in. We do a couple rehearsals, make sure everything sounds like we want it to. And when we record, we don't all get together in a room, I guess you could say, to record.
Okay.
That kind of happened as a result of COVID lockdown, not that we have to go down that road anymore. But we found that we
Sure.
really liked kind of isolating instruments, and it also kind of takes the pressure off a little bit. It seems like it would do the opposite, but it actually kind of takes the pressure off. If somebody, for example, let's say Barb is playing keys and she's like, I don't really like what I played. I got another idea. Let me do that. She's not interrupting the whole band, if that makes
Sure.
sense.
Sure.
Or someone else, like a bass player, or a bass player, Nolan, could be like, I really have this cool idea for a bass run at this point. Can you punch me in? And so that's kind of nice. So we typically do drums and bass. And then we brought Barb in on keys. And then Richard and I go back through and solidify our parts because, again, they were scratch tracks. So we want to make sure the tone is right.
Sure. Yeah.
I like to double mic the amps, like old school, where I have one close, kind of one a little bit in the room just to get a little bit of ambiance. And then vocals and solos are last. And so, yeah, it was a long process. You get to the point where you're halfway through and you feel like you're either going to murder someone or murder yourself. But it's a labor of love. Anybody that's ever done anything creatively, painting, writing, stand-up comedy, anything within the arts, doing theater, anything like that, people know it can be a grind, but the reward is great when you get this finished product that you're
Yes.
content with and happy with, and hope other people enjoy it as much as you do. And that's what I think we have with our new album, Retrograde.
Listen, I have been trying to get my lighting right in this studio since I started.
Right.
And I had hot spots. I had a hot spot on the sign. Joe Bonamassa was blown out. BB was blown out. I get it. And
Yeah.
you definitely do have such a feeling of happiness. And I still have a couple hot spots on the back wall. I don't care. They're minuscule compared to what I had before. But
yeah, that's great.
speaking of the struggles, what was the most difficult part of creating this album?
For me, it always comes to mixing and mastering because, like I said, I handle that in-house. So
Sure.
I record the band, which that for me is the fun part. Like if I get to have microphones out, I'm a happy person. I just love being a studio nerd. And the mixing and mastering, it's not that it's a struggle in terms of what you want to hear. It's that I'm a perfectionist. And so as a result of that, I sometimes don't know when to stop. Like Richard will be in the room with me when I'm going over kind of final mixes before the master, and he'll see me like bumping something up like 0.5 dB, and he'll look at me and be like, really? And I'm like, it makes a difference. So I'm like the crazy person a little bit in the studio, but it's a process, and I just go with it. Probably maybe takes me a little bit longer than maybe someone who is doing it every single day of their life. But
Sure.
I really enjoy what we get out of it. We get exactly what we're wanting to hear, which you just can't beat that. So it works for us.
Yes. Now, one of the things that I noticed about the album, and please don't take offense because this is not meant offensively, Your album is considered blues rock. It is definitely not in the blues box.
Right.
And I've noticed, Jennifer, that a lot of bands these days are leaning more toward the blues rock or a fusion of something, even gospel. I mean, I've interviewed people that have mixed gospel with their music. Are you finding that to kind of be a trend these days?
I think it also comes down to our influences,
Mhm.
right? I mean, like let's go back to the 60s and 70s, which is
Sure.
the time period that inspires us the most. They were inspired by blues, right? So a lot of
Yes, they
the
were.
things they were playing was heavily blues influenced. And as much as they could sneak it in on a commercial album, they were, right? Where yeah, sometimes I feel like it's not necessarily where people are necessarily trying to stray away and make the genre expand beyond what it already is, or not pay homage to the traditional roots of the genre. I think people just have so many influences that it's hard not to kind of do a little tip of the hat to the things that have inspired us, not only as musicians, but as people, the things that have resonated with us. And I mean, I hear it in all genres. Like I listened, to
Yeah.
country music and I'm like, Chris Stapleton could be in the blues genre. I mean, or soul. I mean,
There's so much in country that's not country. I'm
right.
sorry, I'm a snob.
Yeah, me too. I'm like, where's the pedal stealing the fiddle?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
totally hear you. And I'm sure, traditional blues people probably get really annoyed with music like mine that ends up falling under the blues genre, but I feel like there's a
What
place for
what's
all of it.
amazing, what's amazing to me, and forgive me for interrupting, but I want to point this out. There are two schools, man. There are people that are into the root blues, and then there's the people that are into the to the buffet blues, as I like to
Yeah.
refer to them. I like the blues as a buffet because I like a little of this and I like a little of that. But there are some people that, man, if it's not roots blues, it's nothing.
Yeah,
Um, and I guess both sides are right because it depends on what you like. You're not forced to take anything more than you want at the buffet. You take what you want, and
right,
then you're happy with what you take. So
right.
I have a hard time um, accepting people that are snobbish about their brand of the blues over somebody
Yeah,
else's brand of the blues. I think there's plenty of room at the table, and
yeah,
at the end of the day, as Rusty Wright said to me, if you put the blues in a box, you may as well bury it and confirm it as dead because it'll never grow and expand. And
right,
that's not how a lot of people view blues.
right. Yeah, no,
So,
I completely agree with you. And I think the blues genre in particular, I think is smart. Like they identified this, whoever
yeah,
they are. But what I mean by that is like there's a traditional category, there's a contemporary category. They have all these great categories now where everyone can exist and we can just
yes,
enjoy what I just call blues-based music. Like
yep,
someone might hear our album and say, boy, I'm not really hearing much blues influence at all. And then someone in Britain, because our type of blues is probably more heavily influenced by, what has been coined British blues
yes.
rock, that is. And, someone in Britain will hear it and go, oh my gosh, this is such a great blues based album. So I agree with you. It's very subjective too. I mean, even people who enjoy the same type of blues might end up getting in a fist fight. So
Well,
sometimes
I'll tell you, I have been listening to a lot of Peter Green, the Peter Green era of Fleetwood Mac,
great stuff.
listening to, a lot of Rory Gallagher is another one I've been listening to.
My
And I
favorite.
and I hear a little bit of that in your music.
Yeah.
But the thing that I like about your music, Jennifer, is the music on this album is touted as, quote, music that moves your soul. And it has some solid blues rock built into it. Light the Fire kicks off the album with deep bass and guitar. What else might tickle the fancy of your fan base?
Um, well, anyone that's already a fan of ours knows that we're a little bit eclectic with
Mhm.
our music. And the nice thing is being an independent, we actually get to do that. So it's actually really nice where we can put on the album what we feel we want our fans to hear. So on this album, if we want to get into it, you're going to hear like rock anthems. A person is going to hear even a little bit of second line, which is a very deep Louisiana
Yeah.
kind of a tradition. There's a song that's called Baggage that has that feel. There's other songs that are more a little bit more soulful. There's kind of more soul blues, and there's one song that actually Richard predominantly came up with the composition of, and it got a very jazz blues feel. So, and it just for us it works. I'm like, this is us. This is what we do. You're going to hear a little bit of like an Allman Brothers feel with some of the slide work that Richard does, and you'll hear a little bit of like a Leon Russell vibe on the keys because that's also
Nice.
everyone's stylings kind of come into the mix in terms of their influences as well, and that's just how they play. So yeah, we enjoy it. Our fans have got used to the fact that we never know what they're going to get, but they usually like it. So, so that's what
And
we're.
and obviously you're selling albums. I mean, you're independent, but you're selling
Yep.
albums and you're selling them the way you're doing your work, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. We do it all, and we've got a really great fan base. And luckily, our fan base is still really into physical, meaning they buy CDs and vinyl, which is I'm
Yes.
I'm all about digital too. Like when I'm on the move, I will have, digital on my phone, but there's nothing for me like putting needle down on a vinyl and just chilling out and having an experience. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Your vinyl's sitting right down here. You can't see it, but it's here.
Perfect. Awesome.
And I've got about 600 CDs sitting across the room. So trust
Wow,
me,
that's
I
awesome.
understand. I understand the
Yeah.
physical side here. But
Yeah.
dare I ask, are there any favorites among you and the Grooves Reunion Band
Mm.
on this album?
Yeah, my favorite is Sucker for the Pain. I'm a huge Rolling Stones fan, and as soon as we
Okay.
wrote that song, I was just like, wow, this to me sounds very much like something the Rolling Stones would play. And then when our drummer added the groove, he must have been hearing that too, because it's got a very Charlie Watts feel to me. And I just for me, I love that song because it's just kind of like a straightforward blues rocker, but it's plus I love this the storyline. It's just, everything in life we take so seriously. And some things we do need to take serious, but probably 90% of it we don't, and so we get all
Right.
bent out of shape about things that in the end really don't matter. And that song's kind of a little bit about that story. So
Well, it's odd that you kind of teased this at the beginning of the episode here, but I have to say, after listening a few times through so far, um, I really believe this might be your best work to date. And you mentioned early on that you agreed with that. Talk about that for a minute.
yeah, I feel like every it really comes down to not only our band is amazing, and when they add their touch to things, it brings things to life. But I feel it also shows Richard and I, my bandmate, who's the main lead guitar player in our band. Um, it really kind of shows our evolution as songwriters as well. We've kind of finally hit our stride where we're now able to write probably the music that we've always wanted to write. But I feel that not only pairing with someone else to do it sometimes can be a challenge. Everybody has, different ideas, and maybe sometimes the song goes in a direction the other one is like, oh, I don't know, or this one we really didn't have that. We really kind of hit our stride. We both kind of knew what it was we were looking to do and looking to say. And I would agree with you. And then focusing on the composition of it, we really spent a lot of time with the arrangements just to make sure it was exactly as we wanted. And if there were
Hmm.
little subtleties for the music listeners, like for example, when I listen to an Allman Brothers album, there's a lot of it that's going to be straightforward, but there's going to be so many little twists and turns that they would just throw in there. And that was things that I just really enjoy about their music. So we tried to incorporate a little bit of that. And I appreciate that. I feel it's our best work too. And we're really looking forward to not only getting this out to everybody, but using this as a launching pad for our music moving forward.
As I'm sitting here listening to you talk about your bandmates, you have had nothing but glowing words for them. How does it feel to you, because you are the leader of the band, to know that you have assembled a group of like-minded individuals that seemingly have that intuition about them when they send the music off to you, they're kind of like right in the main lane of where you want them to be. I mean, that's got to feel really good, doesn't it?
Oh yeah. And I mean, they're not only are they amazing humans, I mean, they're my music family. I spend a tremendous amount of time with them. And
Sure.
but yeah, the cool thing is obviously how they became bandmates. I mean, it was Richard and I really that were kind of spearheading things, and then Jim, our drummer, came on board. And being from North Dakota, where we're based out of, everyone's like, how did this happen? First off, you guys are doing blues-based music, and that in itself is, we're the redheaded stepchild kind of. And I mean, Jim came to us originally from California, and he moved here for family reasons. He's got a daughter and grandkids that are here, so he and his wife moved here. Barb, our keyboard player, is originally from Washington, D.C., and
Wow.
yeah, and she bounced around the U.S. and lives here. Our bass player is originally from this area, but he is hands down probably the most musically inclined person I've ever met. Period. He plays drums, he plays bass. His main instrument is guitar, and he adds so much in terms of because he's obviously bass is another guitar, right? It's bass
Sure.
guitar, and
Yep.
he plays off what Richard and I are doing so well. But to kind of get back to your original question, Richard and I, since this is our band essentially. I know it's Jennifer Lyn and the Groove Revival, but he is my business partner behind the scenes.
Okay.
We trust them. We trust their instincts when they hear things. We know that in terms of music, they come from the same school that we do in terms of not only do they enjoy the same type of music that we do, they enjoy a lot of the same albums that I grew up listening to, that they grew up listening to. And they're all what I call students of their instrument. Meaning, if I look at Nolan and say, he's our bass player, and say, I'm really kind of hearing more of like an R&B feel on this, he can go back into his memory bank, right? Because he's a student of his instrument,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll play something completely appropriate. Or we can say to Jim, I'm hearing more like something that's kind of more four on the floor, and like have a Bonham feel without your foot punching through because he would kick so hard. John Bonham was a tremendous drummer. And he'll take that and run with it. And we're like, wow, okay, that was better than what I was picturing. So yeah, we're very blessed in terms of the musicality in our band, and people are very easygoing. We don't have any drama queens. We don't have anyone who's a diva where only what they think matters, because there's a lot of that, and it's not just in
Sure.
music. When you get people together to try to do something as a common goal, there can be challenges, but everybody in our band is pretty easygoing. Everybody knows that they also have a voice. If there's something they are hearing, they're completely allowed and entitled to say like, hey, I'm really hearing this on the guitar, do you mind trying that? Can we just see what it sounds like? And
Nice.
we're up for it, because realistically, it might make the song better, and that's the point. So,
Yep.
so yeah, we're very lucky in that way. We get spoiled.
So, what about plans for a tour later this spring or summer? You got anything in the works?
Yeah, we're actually next week we're kicking off our show dates, a run of shows. We'll just be performing in the upper Midwest,
Okay.
and because yeah,
And
as
we
an
got to find a way to get you to Michigan.
someday.
Yeah.
Our fans are very awesome and very supportive and very patient, because they know that we're doing this all on our own, and that also
Hmm.
includes when we book shows. We traditionally, our music does the best in like a tiered seating venue where people can maybe sit down with a drink if there's a bar available and
Sure.
enjoy the show. We're not necessarily the type of band where there's a mosh pit kind of environment going on in front of us. So as a result, we end up booking a lot of our own venues and handling all of our own promotion, all of our own marketing. And yeah, and that gets to be a lot, but we've found a lot of great venues that we've been partnering with that really helps, places that
Okay.
we want to go back to, fans that want to keep coming. So
Yep.
yeah, it's been good. So we'll have a run of shows this summer, quite a few of them actually. And our show schedule is currently posted on our website with maybe some additional dates to be added at a later time. So
Fantastic. Well, hopefully you can
yeah,
get into Michigan. That would be a lot of fun.
yeah, we would
But
love that.
let's talk about the most important part of this interview. You know how this works. Where can people go to find out more about Jennifer Lyn and the Groove Revival, order some merch, an album or three, or book you for a gig, but especially to pre-order this hot new album, which gets released on Friday of this week, Retrograde, because it's coming and you want to have your copy. Where are we going to find it?
Anyone could visit jlynandthegrooverevival.com and they'll be able to find us. They'll be able to find the information for our new album and dive down that rabbit hole if they so choose.
Very good. Jennifer Lyn, it is always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining me today on Time Signatures.
Thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it.
It is a pleasure. And before we wrap up this episode, I want to remind you that it takes an estimated 5,000 music streams to raise the equivalent of a $20 CD purchase. I couldn't believe it either, but it's true. And I've made it my policy to buy music from the artists first. As a matter of fact, I've already done my pre-order with Jennifer and the Groove Revival. And then and only then I will stream on the various platforms. I mean, if we want live music out there, folks, we owe it to these musicians to spend some of our hard-earned cash on supporting their music and merch. Trust me, they will thank you every single time. And thank you so much for your consideration. And that wraps up this edition of Time Signatures. Once again, my thanks to our guest, Jennifer Lyn, but also to you, for without you, none of this would be possible. Jim Ervin reminding you, keeping the blues alive is everyone's responsibility, but preserving the history of the blues, one story at a time, that's my mission. Until next time, so long, everybody.
This has been Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. For more information on cabs, visit capitalareablues.org. You can find this episode and past episodes at lccconnect.org. The Time Signatures theme song, Michigan Roads, is used by permission and was written by Root Doctor, featuring Freddie Cunningham.
You know I'm trying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
Until next time, keep on keeping the blues alive.
Baby, I'm